In the last video, we traveled to 4 different cave biomes so we could collect fragments to unlock the nether, and it took over 16 hours. But now that we have access, we are on the home stretch to beating the Ender Dragon. But there are still a line of quests to do, including defeating an extra boss. So I crafted some golden apples, stole a waystone from a village, and traveled straight to the nether. Here in this hellish landscape thrives many unique civilizations, such as piglins, withers, and blazes. One of the groups are in big trouble, and are being led in a prison where they only know the secrets to your success. And once I entered the nether, I was on an obsidian platform with islands that are miles away. So I placed a waystone, went back home and grabbed some blocks. And once I bridged over to an island, I read the first quest and it said, "The piglins cry for help as they're trapped with the souls," which means I'll have to find a soul sand valley biome with a structure that has piglins trapped in it. Although I wasn't able to find the biome immediately, I found these crimson mosquitoes which will drop a very important item for the endgame. I would also find some nether ruins which would contain a manor map, as well as the cross necklace which will give me more invincibility frames as I take damage. And unfortunately I would have to say goodbye to my whoopee cushion, which I've worn since the beginning of this journey. I would also find another mending book which I'd later put on my pickaxe. And while I was looking for the manor, I finally managed to come across a soul sand valley biome, and nothing much really happened. And after I exited, I found this ruined portal without a chest. And after that, I finally found the structure that I was looking for. It looks like the place I would have to bring the piglins back to. And before looking for their prison, I would mass trade with the piglins and then loot their chests. But there was nothing much other than netherite scraps. And after traveling in another soul sand valley, I would finally find the withered catacombs, where the piglin prisoners are trapped. However, I was unable to get in since I didn't have a netherite pickaxe. So I would spend another 25 minutes mining 3 netherite scraps, only to realize I need an upgrade template from a bastion. So then I went to find another nether ruin to find a bastion map, and then traveled another 1,500 blocks to find it. And after a bit of looking, I finally found the upgrade template, which means I can upgrade my pickaxe and enter the prison. And once I entered, I was greeted by a wither skeleton as well as a piglin prisoner. And once I freed him, I got a new quest saying, "Take him back to the manor, give them gold, and then they will show you what they got locked up for." Before I take him to the manor, I would give him a set of tools and armor, and then I would go ahead to clear out the area of any withers. I would also get some decent loot as well, like diamonds and ancient debris. Although it wouldn't come without annoying mobs and near-death experiences. And after clearing the area, I would free the piglin only for him to detect some more wither skeletons and almost die in lava. Thankfully, he didn't have the intuition to jump in and I blocked off the area. And thankfully, the manor wasn't that far away, so I went back in, rang the netherite bell, and got my reward. Which happened to be a map to a structure that is even further away and includes a mini-boss. So this time I brought some potions and a warp fungus on a stick, and I used the strider to take me all the way there. And unlike the last trip, this trip is actually somewhat interesting. I managed to come across a wither pirate ship, which contained a free netherite bar and some stupidly good enchants. After that, it was just 30 minutes of pure strider traveling. And after finding the structure, I dug into it and there was this strange looking room with a bunch of lava inside. But when I went down to the next layer, there was the mini-boss. And to defeat him, I would have to break their shields while avoiding their bash attack. And then after that, it was pretty straightforward. I just used my axe to defeat him and got some pretty cool rewards, like this fire gauntlet, which sets all enemies on fire, and this monstrous eye, which will lead to the extra boss. And before using that eye to look for the boss, I would dig into the basement lair, and the loot was just take a look for yourself. The loot wasn't like anything I've seen before. with loads of netherite, blaze rods, and highly enchanted gold gear that I can salvage for XP. I think that 30-minute trip was definitely worth it. And now it's time to go on another hour-long trip to defeat that roadblock that's preventing us from reaching the end. But in that trip, we managed to find another Wither Skeleton ship. This time it contains some fire resistance potions, as well as an obsidian skull, which protects you for about 20 seconds when you take fire damage, but then it has a really long cooldown, so I never ended up using it. And after that, I traveled so far that the eye ended up going the opposite direction. And while I was going back, I found a piglin outpost. But I wanted to save that until after I defeated the boss. And after an extremely long and painful journey, I finally managed to come across the Soul Blacksmith. And the quest would just say, take back the eye. So I wasted no time, drank my potions, and fought the netherite monstrosity. I was immediately attacked by magma block projectiles that summon lava on hit. And unfortunately, my bow wouldn't work, so I would have to use my axe. And I would have to run away every hit, since he would do a slam attack and break my shield. And you can see if it wasn't for this lava duct thing, or whatever it's called, I wouldn't have survived. And on the first try, I managed to defeat him and get the Eye of Ender. I also got a monstrous horn, which you can turn into a monstrous helm. In the latest update, the netherite monstrosity will now drop the netherite helm itself. So in the next episode, I might cheat it in. And before I'd head back, I would go into the secret reward room and collect some ancient debris. I also didn't forget about the outpost, but there was nothing interesting I really needed. Well, actually, except for this nether wart, because I need it for potions. And now it's time to go back to the ocean sphere, because the quest from the Eye of Ender says only something captured will guide you to the end. So I grabbed myself a boat and started fishing. And surprisingly, it only took 16 catches to get a Neptune's bounty. And this thing contains a map to the Sunken City, which will be the place I will need to convert my Eye of Ender into an End Eye. I also got a message in a bottle saying, subscribe to JustBoom, which you should. And while I was boating, I came across the pirate ship that I first found the last episode, and somehow I completely skipped over that I placed a waystone here because I might make it my future home. And after just a few hundred more blocks of boating, I finally found the Sunken City. And I'll have to be really careful exploring this, because there are mobs that are like buffed versions of drowns. They have tridents, they can swim underwater, but they can also thrive on air. There's even a variant that summons a portal of deadly death lasers. But my only goal here is just to use the altar to turn my Eye of Ender into an End Eye, and then find the next structure. You can even enchant other items like golden apples and even totems of undying. But anyways, now that we have the eye, it's time to do our longest but final boating trip. We did find some ships and ruins, but they felt more like a chore to loot, since I've seen them a lot. At least you've got these cool looking floating islands. Like, this is something you'll never get to see in any other Minecraft dimension. And after one more hour of boating, we finally found the structure, which is a large castle. And once I reached it, I immediately placed a waystone, so then I can teleport back immediately if I get killed by these pillagers. I would also get a new quest saying, find 12 more eyes. And these eyes can be found in hidden chests throughout the castle, and they were all pretty fun to find with the exception of the amount of pillagers there are. But other than that totem being popped, I managed to find all 12 eyes pretty smoothly. And with that, after almost 200,000 blocks traveled, I would finally light up the end portal. And I was in for a real fight. You see, this is not the typical Ender Dragon I'm going to be fighting. This is the Ender Trigon, an Ender Dragon with 3 heads. Now that might not sound very interesting, but trust me, this fight is a lot harder than the Ender Dragon. The Ender Trigon has many new abilities, such as shooting balls of purpley fire of death, summoning baby dragons of death, dealing knockbacks of death after perching, throwing around endstone blocks of death, and most deadly of all, the grab of death. Overall, this definitely feels like the final boss of Minecraft, and there are many near-death experiences you can encounter, but will I be able to defeat this beast first try, and end this journey once and for all? Welp, this is it. After 24 hours of total playtime, 9 dimensions explored, and almost 200,000 blocks traveled, we finally beat the game. And if you've watched the beginning of the series, you'll know that I'm just kidding. We still gotta craft that secret block. So, I'll see you in the next episode.